The silent thread, spiritual power through the history of humanity. The universal human quest for meaning. From the earliest flickers of human consciousness, we have searched not only for food, shelter, or survival, but for something far greater: meaning. This search, this longing, is the most sacred and unchanging part of the human story. We build homes for our bodies, but we seek temples for our souls. We explore the outer world, but we yearn to know our inner universe. And in every generation across every continent, one truth quietly echoes: there is more to life than what we can touch or see. Thousands of years ago, a child may have stood under the stars in a quiet valley, watching the heavens in awe. In that moment, beneath the silent sky, the same question whispered in their heart that still lives in ours today: why am I here? This question is not bound by language, culture, or religion. It is a spiritual inheritance shared by all. Whether whispered in the desert winds of Arabia, sung in the sacred chants of the Himalayas, or felt in the silent forests of Europe, our search for meaning unites us as one human soul. We've looked for this meaning in gods, in nature, in the sky, in stories, and even in each other. We have carved it in stone, written it in sacred texts, and painted it on cave walls. Our myths, religions, philosophies, and sciences are all reflections of our desire to understand the invisible. At its core, this quest is spiritual, because it asks not just what life is, but what life means. And that meaning is deeply personal, yet profoundly universal. Some found it in surrender, others in discovery. Some felt it in silence, others in service. Yet whether through prayer, meditation, music, or the mysteries of the stars, the feeling is the same: a presence beyond words, a power beyond form, a truth beyond time. This is the power we call spirit, not separate from us, but flowing through us. It is not something we find only in temples or sacred books, but also in tears, in laughter, in stillness, in love. It is the quiet strength that guides a mother through suffering, the light that lifts an artist in despair, the courage that rises in those who walk alone. In a world so often divided by differences, it is this spiritual power, this shared inner longing, that reminds us of our oneness. To understand human history without spirit is to tell only half the story. The wars, the empires, the inventions, all have their place. But beneath it all, behind it all, there is always a deeper movement: the evolution of soul, the rising of awareness, the journey toward truth. And so, to understand where we came from and where we're going, we must first honor what has always guided us: prehistoric spirituality, animism, cave art, and rituals. Long before temples rose into the skies or sacred texts were written on scrolls, humanity lived in silent communion with nature. The earliest humans, hunters, gatherers, and wanderers, did not separate the sacred from the ordinary. To them, all of life was alive. Everything had spirit. This belief, known as animism, was the first spiritual language of humankind. It was not taught through sermons or scriptures, but through experience, through the rustling of leaves in the wind, the glow of fire under the night sky, and the cry of a newborn echoing in the dark. Animism taught that every tree, river, animal, mountain, and storm carried a living soul. Nothing was just a thing. Everything was sacred. Imagine a time when the forest wasn't just scenery. It was a living being. The moon wasn't distant. It was a guardian. The deer was not prey. It was a messenger. This world was enchanted, vibrating with meaning. And in this ancient understanding, humans were not rulers of the earth, but part of it. Spiritual power was not something you owned. It was something you respected. The first rituals. In small tribal circles, early humans performed rituals not to control life, but to connect with it. These rituals were acts of gratitude, reverence, and humility. They offered food to the fire, danced around it under the stars, and buried the dead with care, believing the spirit lived on. Even without written language, they carried deep symbolic wisdom. a circle of stones, a carved totem, a painted handprint on a cave wall. All were gestures to the invisible, acts of communication with the unseen powers that shape the wind, the seasons, and the soul. They didn't have gods in human form. Instead, they saw a spirit within nature itself. The eagle was not a symbol, it was a spirit guide. The thunder was not just weather, it was the voice of the sky. This was the spirituality of connection, direct, immediate, and rooted in relationship. Cave art, the first spiritual